everyone. I'm thrilled to share with you stories about Science Live Theater at the Science Museum of Minnesota and the use of theatrical techniques in cultural institutions, because we thrive and survive on the strength of the stories we tell and the skills of our storytellers. It is, of course, important for our audiences to see themselves in our institutions, and theater is one of the best ways for our patrons to see themselves in our institutions, in the stories we tell. An actor walks into a museum. Now, that sounds like the start to a bad joke, but stay with me. An actor or artist of any medium walks into a museum or any cultural institution and asks why. Why is this object here? How does this idea behind this exhibit component impact my life? Does it shape the lives of others? Does it serve all or just some? What motivated this person to create this? Was there a conflict? Challenges? And the questions continue to reel around and around in the artist's mind until finally a story is shaped. Because professional actors, like scientists, are trained to ask questions. And behind every idea, every object, there is a story. And every well-crafted story asks a question. And we know from research that asking questions leads to engagement. In short, stories make content stick. Studies report that people retain information if there's an emotional connection. And that emotional connection can be joy and laughter too. Stories create repeat visitors to our institutions because people see themselves in stories. They can identify with a story. I entitled my talk, "An Actor in Every Museum," because storytelling is essential to the livelihood of our businesses, and the use of theatrical techniques is one of the best storytelling tools at our disposal. I have the pleasure of working at the Science Museum of Minnesota in St. Paul, Minnesota. Founded in 1907, the museum sees close to 1 million visitors each year. It is one of the leading museum producers of large format IMAX films and museum exhibits. It is also a pioneer in the museum industry for its use of theater. Its Science Live Theater is the longest-running professional museum theater company. And it all started with a security guard, a moon rock, and puppets. In the 1970s, a visionary woman by the name of Sandra Quinn presented the idea of museum theater to the Science Museum of Minnesota. So she was hired as a security guard to watch over a moon rock. But while she was watching over it, she was encouraged to write plays for the museum. And Science Live Theater was born. We are currently in our 44th season. In other words, for the past 44 years, the museum has supported a company of professional actors as part of the museum's institutional culture. For a science museum, theater is a natural fit because both science and theater are about questioning and exploring the world around us. And of course, this act of examining the world also applies to all forms of art and self-guided learning, which is why science museums are not alone in their use of museum theater and theatrical techniques. Many zoos, historical sites, aquarii, history, art, and children's museums have theater programs. And many belong to the International Museum Theater Alliance, or IMTAL. IMTAL is a non-profit professional association for museum theater practitioners and supporters. Our mission is to inspire and support the use of theater and theatrical techniques to cultivate emotional connections, provoke action, and add public value to the museum experience. In fact, IMTAL members from the Missouri History Museum's theater program, Teens Make History, were just honored by the First Lady with the 2014 National Arts and Humanities Youth Program Award. At the Science Museum of Minnesota, our company is made up of adult professional actors. Science Live actors perform in repertoire and have as many as 16 shows open at any given time. Now, our shows are 20 minutes long or less, but are often one-person performances. They perform 10-minute plays, game shows, presentations, monologues, puppet shows, and roaming first-person characters. So these actors are not only some of the best in the Twin Cities, but they are also extremely versatile in their ability to perform many styles of performance. They also perform science demonstrations. The demonstrations you expect to see at a science center: blowing objects up, freezing items with liquid nitrogen, shooting rockets, and so on. Because a professional actor brings a demonstration to life, connecting the science to the lived human experience. An actor's interpretation skills brings a great deal of charm and humanity to a science demonstration, creating an entry point for audiences of all ages and learning styles to connect with the content, to pinpoint the relevance between their lives and the science, and to experience an emotional connection to the subject matter. On average, 200,000 people watch a Science Live show each year. We use playwrights to create all our shows. August Wilson, the Pulitzer and Tony Award-winning playwright, was one of our first playwrights in residency. Now, performances have been taking place in cultural institutions and national parks for at least a century in the United States because it works. The majority of audience members, 95%, said seeing the show live made their visit to the Science Museum of Minnesota more enjoyable, while 86.4% expressed some way in which a live show helped make science more accessible or understandable. For our exhibit, The Dead Sea Scrolls, Words That Changed the World, every single visitor saw an opening monologue performed by an actor introducing them to the exhibit. And the majority of visitors, 65%, felt the live introduction to an exhibit performed by an actor was better than a video. Teachers also see the value in live performances. In fact, human interactions are embedded throughout all of Minnesota's state science standards. And what better way to convey human interactions than through theater? So museum theater is an excellent match for our schools, too. One teacher said, after seeing our show Storms on Stage, the kids were just completely enthralled with Storms on Stage. Movies are always great, but the kids see movies. They don't always see a lot of interactive stage shows. So to see intriguing science, fire tornadoes, your teacher getting zapped by lightning, those sorts of things right in front of you, well, they were all extremely engaged and excited by it. Roaming historical characters in an exhibit are also extremely popular with audiences. Patrons have flocked to the actors. During the Titanic exhibit, 94% of visitors interacted with an actor portraying a crew member on the ship. And 73% said they'd like to see more actors in other exhibits. In fact, this was such a successful engagement strategy, we repeated the process for the Real Pirates exhibit. It was not uncommon for a visitor to chat with one of our actors for up to 30 minutes. We've also done murder mystery events at the museum. Similar to a murder mystery dinner party, our actors played the suspects. This is a picture of patrons gathering 20 minutes before the actors were scheduled to come out and reveal who done it. And audiences were so into interacting with the actors or suspects that I could barely get to the actors to give them a break during the event. I had to push through crowds of people. Another theatrical technique that is exploding across the museum field is improv. Heather Barnes with the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago embedded improv exercises into her staff meetings to build team relationships and prepare staff to engage with the public. Now, dozens of museums have followed her lead and have implemented this methodology of improv into their daily meetings and museum culture. Now, often, when people hear the word museum theater, they think children's theater, which, in fact, we do a lot of shows geared for children. but the majority of our productions are for the whole family, what we like to call the Pixar approach. But we also do shows designed just for adults. In fact, one of the strengths of museum theater is that it can tackle controversial and sensitive topics. Theater is the perfect vehicle for starting conversations around science and societal issues. Our piece, Let's Talk About It, is an open-ended drama, meaning it has no resolution, about a potential cancer treatment that utilizes nanotechnology. It can be presented live as a play or as a film. Attendees to public forums first heard an introduction on nanotechnology from a scientist, then watched the film or play, and finally broke into small discussion groups. Theater frames arguments and concerns by giving, through the characters, a relatable face to the scientific issues. We took the same approach to our play that complemented the Science Museum of Minnesota's award-winning exhibit, Race, Are We So Different? Our drama, Race to the Finish Line, about white privilege, is also open-ended because we want to respect the complexity of the issues. We don't want to resolve and tie everything up neatly with a bow. That would be an after-school special. We want to honor the intelligence of our audience as well. The show had a deep impact on our audiences. Peter Olson, Executive Director of the Children's Museum of Southern Minnesota, wrote to us saying, "Your show really hit a nerve. A couple nerves, I think, because I still feel like weeping. I'm going to think about it. I do know the exhibit experience is not complete without taking in your show. The play took me to a level of introspection that I wouldn't have gotten from solely experiencing the exhibit. Thank you for giving me something deeper to chew on." This approach to encouraging audience dialogue works because characters in a play are flawed in their arguments for two obvious reasons. Humans are imperfect creatures, and plays tell a human story. So after the play, audiences can use the characters in the play as a jumping-off point to discuss the issues at hand and to further develop their individual viewpoints about the topic. Another great entry point for adult learners is humor. The Wonders and Worries of Nanotechnology is a series of short films delivered in a satirical fashion, mirroring educational films of the 1950s. Theatrical techniques are such a powerful tool for engagement that our Science Live crew has used them to create comedic training films and promotional films. All the films mentioned are included in links at the end of my talk. Theater allows us to examine our past, question our present, and imagine our future. It is about the human condition, and science is a human endeavor. With that said, often scientists struggle with conveying their work to the public. So I run playwriting workshops with scientists from all over the world. Through the writing process, scientists find the emotional hook that draws the audience in, the inciting incident that triggers the action of the play, and the immediate conflict that is crucial for a 10-minute science play to bridge science and the daily life of a layperson together. This exercise of playwriting increases the scientist's ability to deliver messages about his or her work in other venues and through other mediums. Sense theater is about questioning the human experience. It is a perfect platform for examining how science is interwoven into our daily lives. When we connect through art, education follows. Are we Science Live theater educational theater, edutainment? Sure, but we are art first. We try not to add too many facts to a show because we aim to inspire further learning and to create a love for lifelong learning. To achieve this goal, museum theater utilizes the storytelling skills and talents of theater artists who dramatize the conflict, the emotions, and the humanity of scientific endeavors. Theater artists are avid learners, eager to explore the world and question it. Both scientists and artists scrutinize why things are the way they are. In closing, our institutions, no matter what type of institution you belong to, thrive and survive on the strength of the stories we tell and the skills of our storytellers. You can see some of Science Live's work at the following links. And on behalf of the Science Museum of Minnesota, we invite you to come visit us, and we thank you for your time. And thank you, Tessitura, for inviting us to share our work.